Across the vastness of reality, a limitless number of existences play over infinite possibilities. These are the fragments captured in our rudimentary observation. Welcome to the Omniverse.
So, Pokey, you are on your own with you're not quite sure what coming your way. You do see the light, but it's too far away at the moment for you to make out any details. Your light source that you had been dragging behind you actually is still tied with a line to you back on the other side of this little alcove. So right now you are actually standing in something resembling darkness.
How far away is this thing? Do I think that I have time to get back to my team before it would reach my current position?
Based at the rate that it's moving, you certainly think you could duck back through the hole without any trouble. Whether you would be able to make your way all the way back to the team, probably, but it depends on whether it noticed you and how quickly it might come your way.
Well, that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to duck back out the hole and see if I can make my way back to the team here.
Okay, go ahead and roll a stealthy stride for me. I assume you're going to try and be a little sneaky about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
8.
So you duck back through the hole and kind of pick up the lantern and start fluttering as quietly as you can along the passage to head back to the others. And you do hear, as you start moving away, it sounds like whatever it was that had the light and was making the noise was coming in the direction of the hole. But you think you did manage to sneak away. And after a few moments, because I think you went through the first of the little holes that you came across, it's just a matter of a minute or two before you're back with the others. What is the expression on Pokey's face?
Not grave concern. We're adventurers. This kind of thing happens. So, I just land in front of the group and say, well, there's like another wider tunnel right down the middle there. That's what the bricked off part is, but there was something coming this way with, a light, like a bobbin light, and I couldn't tell in the darkness whether it was carrying a lantern or there was like part of it. But I don't think it saw me, so it should be sort of right on the other side of this bricked off passage now.
Oh, all right. So did it seem like the little side hallways continue on then?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, they're just sort of winding and, as if to separate and like tunnel. It's a tunnel, so that's a stupid thing to say, but like, force them through a narrower passage so they're easier to deal with, whoever might be coming this way. And maybe from that middle section, they could launch an assault of some kind. There was some sort of hole down near the ground. That's how I got through into the middle section, so I don't know if they like send scarabs through or something, but maybe that's where they deploy whatever they deploy from the middle into the side passages.
That's very smart. So it would be dangerous for us to just wander into that knowing that they're in the center and can do whatever they like.
Yeah, well, I only saw one of whatever it was.
Oh, all right. What, are we going to try to get through or take another look?
Everybody go ahead and roll awareness tests for me.
Okay.
24.
Oh, gosh.
14.
16.
6.
All right. So as you're discussing this, everybody except Jara, hears, the skittering, like here's a sort of like scratching, skittering sound coming from the tunnel that Pokey had just come out of.
Oh, perhaps we don't have to try to see what it is. It may be coming to us.
Are we going to stick around and wait for it, or are we going to head through?
Wait, I'm sorry, I was staring off into space. What is happening?
Oh, there's a skittering. Something is, it seems like it might be coming this way.
And when you glance in the direction at this point, you see a little bit of light coming from around the corner of of that narrow tunnel that Pokey came out of.
Let's wait here and spring a trap on it when it comes through. And I'm going to go position myself next to that doorway so that hopefully whatever comes through, I've kind of got its back.
So I will grab the lantern and hide it under my cloak, try to make darkness. I don't really care for this a whole lot, but here we are.
I suppose I step behind Jara.
That's usually a good place. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. From around the corner, step 3 figures, for lack of a better term. 2 of them look like large beetles that are maybe about a foot and a half tall, and maybe about 3 feet long. Like these are like the size of a large dog, in terms of, but they're very clearly, beetles. And standing sort of behind them is an orc. It looks like carrying a small glowing green lantern.
Didn't you say scarabs?
I did say scarabs,
Yeah.
yes. That was
Wow.
a random guess.
Uncomfortable.
Are you over there just like reading Josh's notes somehow, or?
Yeah, in the reflection of his glasses.
And the orc kind of stops and looks a little bit startled at seeing apparently other people in front of her.
I do not attack. I'm going to look to Kanath. If they aren't coming out like weapons blazing, then this might be a talking matter.
In fact, it doesn't look like the orc is carrying a weapon at all.
Oh, yeah. Seeing this and seeing Pokey look back, I will kind of flourish out my cape and bring the light out. Oh, sorry about that. We heard strange noises and, well, we've seen some very gruesome things coming down this direction. We were concerned that it might be another gruesome thing, but, well, look at you. You're not gruesome at all. How did you get down here? What are you doing down here? And I'd like to try to roll first impression.
Okay, go ahead.
Bad.
16.
The orc looks puzzled for a moment, and then kind of breaks into a grin, tusks kind of catching the lamplight a little bit. And I'm sort of heavily accented Throlic. You are not minions of the horrors, are you?
No. Goodness, no, we were up in a mining town and there was a collapse and it led to a cavern and we wanted to check and make sure that there was nothing down here that would possibly put the town in danger. And we started down this direction. We did come across a couple of undead things and we did see those big kind of worm-like creatures that seem to have been corrupted or tainted by the horror. Is there some kind of a horror down here?
No, is our home, is care we have been in for a very long time. Is the scourge, is finished?
Yes. Oh, my, yes, for almost 100 years, I would say.
There's a few moments of mixed emotions that go over the orc's face. Disbelief, puzzlement, and then just kind of like, Jasper be praised. Please, follow me. Titak, crown. And apparently calling to the beetles, and turns and starts heading down the passageway with the beetles turning and kind of following in her wake.
Yes, of course. This is, wow, to be the emissaries for the new world to a whole new group. This is phenomenal. And I'll just start walking that way.
Do I get any impression of dishonesty from this person, from this orc?
Go ahead and roll charisma.
6.
You don't detect any kind of, there's nothing to give any indication of deception or anything along those lines, no.
Okay, then I am also happily marching along.
Yeah, same.
All right. And as you're kind of making your way, staying, probably a little bit behind, the orc keeps kind of glancing back over her shoulder, apparently paying a lot of attention to both Kanath and Pokey.
What's up? You sort of, I notice you're looking at me.
You are, Windling.
Yeah?
There are no, we have heard the stories, they are described in the book, but we do not have any, so I've never seen one before. And you, to Scrang?
Yes, that's right. I kind of sensed by your regional dialect that we might be sites that you had not seen before. That's fascinating.
Yes, it has been generations since the doors were sealed. It's only through the grace of Jaspers that we have survived. But Essane will tell you more.
Yeah, I just keep following.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so you follow this winding tunnel for a few minutes. It doesn't take more than 5 minutes to kind of make your way back and forth along the twisting lengths, and you do see periodically the holes that Pokey had described as you're going. And then you come out of the sort of constructed warren area, out back into the wider tunnel. And then it's not too much longer before it curves and opens up into a very large cavern, that is dimly lit by, quartz or some other kind of stone that's set into the ceiling and glowing with a kind of faint, pale bluish light. And you see, kind of laid out, you're up a little bit, it kind of slopes down quite a number of buildings and other such construction that kind of are taken up, by this area. The ceiling is probably a good, 50 or 75 yards up at its highest point. The dim light kind of defines the edges of the cavern, and you'd guess that it's probably, maybe 300 yards in diameter. I mean, this is a fairly large cavern. There is a kind of somewhat musty smell, the kind of smell that you have when you've got a lot of people living in close proximity for a while and without anything really resembling fresh air or anything like that. It's not unpleasant. It's just lived in. And you also see, down a little ways, some movement. And as you kind of enter into this cavern, the orc gives out a call in words that you don't understand, probably whatever the native language of the place is. And gives out a call, and the beetles that are with her kind of go scurrying on a little bit ahead and starts leading you down towards the buildings. Oh, I'm sorry. I am Norla. I am one of the guardians of the care. And as you get into an area where there's a little bit more light, you notice that she is wearing kind of fairly simple leather clothing. And has a cloak that has a familiar looking clasp, holding it closed. That 3-leaf pattern.
Cool. How many people are down here?
There are, 200, perhaps.
Oh, wow. That is wild. And it's pure chance that we found you. Yes, we say that the scourge is over, but, there are still some of them left. They're more like wild animals than anything else. They're a danger, but yes, the world is moving on. I am amazed that you're all here. I'm so glad.
It's from the grace of Jaspri that we have survived. And Jaspri, you would all be familiar with this in character, is the name of the passion of growth and plant life and agriculture and wild things. The passions are sort of the Earthdawn equivalent of deities.
Yes, well, lead on, and we'd love to have a chat and see what we can do about showing you the surface.
All right. So, everybody go ahead and make awareness tests for me as Norla leads you through the kind of outer edges of the area into the more central part of the community.
4.
13.
Also 13.
5.
I'm riding on Jara's shoulder, and just as we're supposed to be noticing whatever we're supposed to be noticing, like a kite flew in front of both of us. We couldn't see it.
So, Siobhan and Kanath, the one thing that you kind of pick up on as you're making your way through is it looks like the construction and the space that's been provided for here is probably more space than the 200 or so that Norla just said were here. So it looks like either the care was constructed for more or had more at one point and has since shrunk in terms of its population or something.
I think I say as much to Norla, and it's kind of prodding a little bit because I want to try to use empathic sense to get a sense of when she responds to like, oh yes, this is the place. Like, I don't want to dig up anything that might be painful, or if there's like fear or sadness, just to try to get a sense of what her response is when she talks about like, you talked about there only being this many people, but there's so much space here. Had you constructed it for more and they weren't able to make it here, or what happened here?
Go ahead and roll a charisma test. So this would be an interaction test. I think you have the ability to spend karma on them if you want. That's up to you whether you spend the karma, but that's an option as a troubadour.
And then how does first impression affect that, or does it?
First impression basically modifies what her attitude towards you is, and that will determine the difficulty of you to persuade her to open up or whatever.
12.
Okay. Well, there was many years ago from what I have heard, but the population has been getting smaller over the years. But Essane will explain all. And if you want, go ahead and roll empathic sense.
14.
Her emotional reaction, her emotional state with regards to what she's telling you there is pretty matter of fact. Like, it doesn't seem to be especially painful. She's, maybe in her late teens. She's not particularly old, so it's probably something that is just a fact of her life.
Okay. Yeah, continue to follow.
All right. And as you are sort of venturing through and you start seeing more people around, you notice that the bulk of the population seems to be made up of humans, orcs, and dwarves in about equal numbers. You don't see any windlings or Tiskrang. You do glimpse a troll or two kind of at the back of things. And there's sort of like the buzz and things almost seem to sort of be coming to life as you are passing through, and people are noticing and talking rapidly to, like, coming up to Norla and talking rapidly and in the whatever their language is, you can't really make out. But there seems to be like a lot of excitement and interest and fascination with the group of you kind of making your way through. And everybody is in like fairly simple, like handmade clothing. This feels like a place that seems to be on sort of fallen on hard times or something along those lines. Aside from the people, the only other thing that you notice is the only kinds of animal life appear to be more of those beetles like the ones that were accompanying Norla. You don't see any evidence of any other, like dogs or cats or any other kind of domestic, animals, present there. It looks like whatever these beetles are, they're sort of what are being used as the domestic beasts and so forth. The other thing that you notice, again, now that there's more light and you can get a better look, is that all of the beetles seem to have, like, on their heads, some kind of, like, plant-like growth or whatever on them. And after a few moments, you come into what you presume to sort of be the community square. There is a little bit more elaborate building at the edge of this, and coming out of that is a tall, slender, elf with, long, black hair down to a little bit past his shoulders. His clothes are still like sort of handmade, but they appear to be a little bit more formal. And he has this kind of worn, but looks like was at one point very well made, like kind of robe that's kind of half pulled over it. And Norla kind of glanced back at you and gestures to him and says, "This is Esain. He is the elder of Fonsor, our community."
Hello, it's a pleasure to meet you.
And Esain says a few words to Norla, who responds, and he gives a nod. Hello, it is amazing that what Norla says is true. You are from the surface. You have come. The scourge is over. The horrors are gone.
Mostly gone, yes. There are some still in the world, but the world's moved on. Civilization is going.
This is amazing. We had no real way of knowing when the time had passed. Our device had been damaged, and so we had no way of knowing. He's probably referring to the magical elemental clocks that were made in a lot of cares that basically measured the ambient level of magic, and when it got to a certain point, people would be able to, would know that the scourge was over. So if they didn't have a working one of those, then they wouldn't have any way of knowing other than maybe actually counting the days, which can be tough to do when you're underground. We must celebrate. We must have prepare a feast in your honor, and you can tell us all about the wonders of the surface world and what is going on and things like that. But that will take some time. And he gives some commands, and some people start scurrying off, apparently to start some preparations. Please come with me, and we will have some refreshment, and we can talk, please. And he turns and starts to go back into the building, gesturing for the four of you to follow.
All right. I can't not. Can I look at him astrally as well, just to, I don't know, appease my own paranoia, I guess?
Go ahead and make an astral sight test.
Okay. 15.
You manage to pierce the veil to astral space, And the first thing that you notice is that astral space here seems to be a bit more polluted than you would expect for a still surviving care.
Oh.
There doesn't appear to be anything unusual that you can notice about Essane's pattern. You can see him there. It looks, bright and normal. But yeah, the sort of general level of astral pollution in this area is higher than you would have expected.
Yeah, I think I'm looking around with just a tinge of worry, mumbling to myself a little bit. Nine hells, would you look at this? This is a dangerous spot.
Why is that?
What?
It is, I don't know. It's tainted just more than it should be. It's a wonder these people are alive.
I wonder if it has anything to do with those grass-headed beetles. He said that Jaspree preserved them through this. Maybe they've got something to do with it.
Maybe. Let's see what they have to say, I suppose.
Essane leads you into a sitting room that's not far inside this initial building. And there is some comfortable seats. Again, it's all seems to be like handmade. Either the more well-made, the better looking stuff appears to be a lot older. Anything that is maybe more recent is a little bit cruder, in its construction and design. Again, all still like normal, but just, again, like the evidence of this place may have been a bit wealthier, and that maybe as the population has dropped or something, they didn't have people that were as skilled in terms of making stuff. Or maybe the well-made stuff was brought in from before the Scourge and so was now, several centuries older or something along those lines. And Essane gestures you to take seats and takes one himself. And after a few moments, a young human girl comes in with a tray that's got a platter that's got some stuff heaped on it and some mugs that kind of hands one to each of you, and they just appear to have normal water in them. And the tray, whatever it has, like this, it's kind of a reddish pulpy fruit. It looks kind of like maybe like a pomegranate or like old, if you're familiar with like what watermelons used to be before we bred them up to the way they are now, where there was a lot more sort of like fibrous stuff with, the fruit part kind of interwoven in through that. That's kind of what it looks like. There's kind of like a rind and then this kind of reddish, pulp fruit that's kind of on it, and it's cut into chunks. And Essane grabs the mug and holds it up in kind of a gesture of a toast. To our, for lack of a better term, saviors, those who carry the news that it is perhaps time for us to emerge and walk into the daylight the way that was promised to our forebears many generations ago.
Cheers.
Yeah, I'll raise my glass.
Takes a big drink out of the mug. Please, help yourselves. We do not have much, but it is the least that we can offer at this time for your wondrous arrival.
What is it?
Is a melon that we grow in our greenhouse cave, which is attached to this main living ones. It is much of what we feed on is obviously, as you must know, as the history of the chaos has grown and so forth in here. This is something that this is sort of one of our staple foods.
I'm curious. Norla had said that you would be able to tell us about the history of this place. It's so large and grandly built. But she had said that the population was much smaller. Did you have some issue getting everyone here, or we saw quite a number of things on the way in, having tried to breach the defenses? Obviously, you were able to fend them off. Was it a rough, for lack of a better terms, closure for you all down here?
Things at the beginning, when our ancestors descended into the care many years ago, things started and were going as well as could be expected given the circumstances under which they found themselves. But when I was but a boy, there was a near breach. These tunneling worm things dug through the walls and caused some problems. But fortunately, we were able to drive them back. And the magicians who were part of our care at the time were able to reinforce things. My aunt Kess was among them. They drove them out and repaired the gaps that they had left, and our traps dealt with some of them. But it was not long after this that a sickness came upon the care and started killing people and the animals. Our sheep and goats and such fell ill and died. Unfortunately, Kess received a vision from the Passion Jasperi, and the Passion took pity on us and gave us the method of survival, and the plant life and so forth was grown and prospered under his attention to allow us to survive during this time. It is from him that the beetles that you have seen were tamed by his magic. The plants that you see on them, these things not normally are subject to a Beastmaster's control, but with Jasperi's assistance, they are. And so that is how we have now passed the past several decades. And while things have been difficult and our numbers have been growing smaller over all this time, my aunt Kess, she passed many years ago, but I am now leader here, and am fortunate to be the one who will take things forward for my people and perhaps find a brighter future under the open sky. Tell me, what is it like, this sky?
Depends on the day. But it is a beautiful, wondrous thing.
Is it true that the wind can blow strong enough to knock you over?
Oh, yes. Matter of fact, give me a few minutes and I could even make a wind to blow you over right now.
Oh, no, this is not necessary. I appreciate that, but would much rather face the real thing as opposed to your bit of your magic, I assume.
Yes, indeed.
She's just shoveling in melon. I've got such a bad response to these, but I love them.
The melon, like, it's not super sweet. It feels like it's very kind of almost like hearty and filling, and it's good.
That's good enough for me. I'm all in on this melon. Our breakfast got interrupted at the beginning of this adventure.
That's true. Norla had seemed a little worried at the front that we might be corrupted. Have you had to deal with any other horrors besides those giant worm beasties?
No, since that infestation back when I was a boy, and since the intervention of Jasperi, he has been protecting us since then, and we have not had any difficulties or problems since that point. No.
That's good. I just have to say this. I don't mean to worry you, because obviously you've all done well under the circumstances, but the corruption down here is really starting to leak in much more prominently than what we're normally seeing up top.
Oh, while we are aware that there is such matters like that, it appears to have been that we have not had any difficulty since then.
Aye, fair. That's good. I wonder if something about this is what has stopped your ability to know when it was time to leave.
What do you mean?
I mean, I don't know. It's just a theory, but if something is corrupting the actual astral plane down here, maybe it somehow affected you. Maybe something about it is trying to keep you here and not let you get out.
Why would that be?
I don't know. I don't know a lot about horrors myself in that corruption, but I mean, it stands to reason if there's something that wanted to keep you all here, that's certainly a way to do it.
Were you mainly worshippers of Jasperi before the incident where the things breached the walls?
Jasperi is an important passion for the growing things, and certainly among the those who worked in the greenhouse cave, he was an important figure to them. And is perhaps because of that devotion that he saw fit to preserve us.
I don't know if you've had to deal with this much, but on our way in, we did encounter some dead who were not dead.
I do not know what you are speaking of.
They are people who have died, have been killed, but then they reanimate. They are kind of mindless. And I will pull the brooch from the cloak out of my bag. One of them was wearing this, and I have seen it on some of your on some of you. Have they not wandered down this far?
No, that symbol is a mark of the Guardians, those who are devoted to patrolling and maintaining the safety and sanctity of our home. And perhaps these dead that you encountered were some that were slain fighting the breach many, many years ago.
Oh, that's very possible. It's fortunate that they have not made their way down here.
Well, perhaps the care of Jaspery has kept them from coming here and causing trouble for us.
So, just from my character's knowledge of the world, is it normal for a passion to intervene as directly as they think they have been intervened with? Like, they think that Jaspery specifically reached out to help them and keep them alive and all that. Is that a type of occurrence?
You are certainly familiar with stories of direct intervention by the passions in various events. Yes. You can't think of any off the top of your head where one might have been so long-term directly involved, as opposed to shows up and does some super powerful magic. But that's also not your area of expertise.
Mm-hmm. But is Jaspery known to be benevolent?
Yeah, generally speaking. You know, there are those who are devoted to Jaspery who sometimes take things maybe a little bit far into the point of, for lack of a better term, eco-terrorism, in terms of wanting to maintain like pristine, wild, natural places. But that tends to be like a thing that certain people do rather than something that is dictated necessarily by Jaspery himself.
Okay. You know, it just seems kind of weird to me that if a passion was going to intervene this directly and sort of keep him alive down here and all that he wouldn't just somehow let him know that the world was back on and they were safe to leave.
You know, that thought had crossed my mind. Why go out of the way to set them up to stay down here this long instead of just showing them how close they are to the surface?
Kanath, the thought occurs to you at that moment that what the two of them were just saying sounds really dumb to you.
That's ridiculous. I mean, yes, they intervene, but we say the world is safe, but people still perish from the horrors every day. I mean, these people seem ill-equipped at best to deal with the rigors of the surface world. It might be best for them to, find the world in their own time, and it was waiting for us to find them. Don't be ridiculous.
Well, I feel soundly thrashed. All right, when you put it that way.
I've never really taken a licking by a troubadour like that before, but it was truly an experience.
I'm going to sing an emotion song so you feel worse about yourself.
If you will excuse me, I am going to go and see to the preparations. Please relax and take care, and I will be back shortly to check on you. If you need anything, call out for Lisha. She will be happy to attend to anything that she can provide for you.
Are we allowed to kind of explore the space? I want to get a look at what you got going on down here. Go visit with people, see what's up, see how different the world is down here compared to up there.
Oh, yes, I would love to actually to get some sketches, too, because, I mean, this is incredible. The fact that we found an undiscovered care, you all seem to be doing pretty well. Some sketches in the book would be top-notch.
I suppose if you are careful, because there are places where the work has not been done to maintain things to be perhaps totally safe. But yes, please, if you want to walk around and see how things are, then you may do so.
I assure you, my sole purpose in this group is to make sure that they don't get into too much trouble.
Very well. Just make sure that you try to minimize the disruptions. We do not want to delay the festivities for later.
All right. And then I think we'll all go together, I assume?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're going. I just wanted to have the freedom to go explore if I wanted to.
I would mind seeing the underground greenhouse. I mean, that's phenomenal. It's a place that's been charmed by Jespri, apparently, and it's where this delicious melon comes from.
Yeah. Now, real quick, now that he's gone, I want to revisit something with you. You were just messing with us, right? Saying that was a dumb thing that we were saying, like you were just trying to play into his favor so that he wouldn't get upset with us.
Really, in most of the stories that you hear, the passions, they really only intervene once. Like, that was their one. Like, oh, here's a way to survive. He wouldn't make a second pass to be like, oh, by the way, come out now. You know, it was hundreds of years ago.
Sure, but this is like an ongoing, like, many interventions to varying degrees over a long time. So in counter to your example, where you said they kind of do one and then go, this is like a lot of them.
Wait, isn't the one just giving them these beetles that help them farm food?
Well, and like they're saying that he maybe protects them from the undead coming through here, and that, you know, he helps the crops stay hardy, and he gives them the beetles and the ability to control them and all those things.
Oh, I see. I think that part is, I think he probably did one of these things, and then the rest of them is just, oh, we love this god. We'll say everything that good happens to us is because of him.
Well, that makes sense.
Certainly seems legit to you, Kanath.
That's kind of what I'm checking in for.
Well, yeah, let's go check out the greenhouse.
All right, so you make your way out of the main sort of meeting structure that you were with Asane in, and head out and are in the little square and kind of looking around, and there's a bustle of activity. And when you come out, the few people that are around there all kind of look your way, and you, especially you, Kanath, and Pokey as well, seem to draw more attention. Certainly, as Siobhan doesn't really stand, aside from your clothing obviously being fairly distinctive, but, it's definitely the strangeness of a Windling and a Tiskrang here that these people, from what Norla told you anyway, have only heard descriptions of and have not actually ever seen in person.
I think that Kanath and I do our carefully rehearsed, choreographed act where he kind of leans back on his tail and I do flying somersaults through the air.
Yes.
As he springs around like a kangaroo.
Yes. Do the people give us any kind of a greeting, or do they just kind of scatter away? Or what I'm wondering is, as we walk through this area and having walked through the town kind of to get here, could I try to study their etiquette to see if there are things I can pick up on how to behave here, how they behave?
Do you have etiquette as an ability, or?
I do.
Go ahead and roll that then.
11.
It's tough to get a read from the limited exposure that you kind of have thus far. Everybody seems to be somewhat nervous, isn't quite the right word, but a little bit uncertain of you. I mean, not surprising, at least it feels, given that, this is a community where they all know each other and all grew up together, and there have not been any strangers here for ever. And so the strangeness of that is probably something that's affecting that. You do notice that there appears to be that you see the occasional individual with the cloak with the leaf symbol, and they appear to get a little bit more deference from the others and so forth. So there maybe is a little bit of a like higher respect or caste system maybe in that regard there. But yeah, I mean, it appears to be not tremendously unlike villages and stuff like that you've encountered, small towns and stuff that you've encountered elsewhere in your travels.
Yes, the level of respect they have for those who guard their tunnels is interesting. You notice as we walk by, they're making a little space for us, but they're actually doing the same thing for their cloaked brethren.
Have to wonder if those are the adepts, the ones that are powerful enough to protect.
That would make sense. Yeah, and I think that if we can find it, head towards the underground greenhouse.
Okay. A little bit of wandering. You do end up... are you just going to wander, or are you going to actually try and get directions?
I suppose it would depend on if it seemed like we could encounter anybody who shared language with us, because it seems like it's been kind of a struggle, and I can't quite get a grasp on their language. So I don't know if it's a matter of like holding up part of the melon and like pointing direction, shrug shoulders. You
manage to get the attention of a troll child being, of course, a relative term. Even at that, trolls are larger. And certainly the troll looks at Jara with somewhat wide eyes as another troll, certainly one that they've not seen before. Wow.
Hello, little one.
You know mountains?
I do.
Oh.
Maybe someday soon you can see some, yeah? Can you tell me where they grow all of this melon? Can you show me?
Yeah. And starts kind of leading you off, about sort of like not directly across, but off to sort of one side opposite the way that you entered the cavern with Norla, and kind of gets to the and you notice sort of after a little bit, the sort of path, it looks like the way that he's leading you is sort of like a well-traveled route between like the main living area and wherever it is that he's leading you. And then kind of gets to an open area between where the buildings were, and sort of with the light, you can kind of see the cavern wall a little ways ahead. And there's like pens, like kind of rough fences or whatever in this kind of open space where there are more of the beetles that are kind of like penned up and so forth. And he kind of weaves in between these little enclosures. And then you see another tunnel that has some faint light coming out of it. That's a fairly large entrance, maybe about, like 3 or 4 people wide. And he just is in there. Jasper's cave.
Thank you. And I'm going to pat one of his horns.
He kind of blushes and then turns and scurries off. And there are some other people around here that sort of look like they're kind of tending to the animals that are sort of in the beetles and stuff that are in the enclosures.
Is there any sort of actual door blocking off the Jasper's cave?
It's an open passageway, probably about 20 to 25 feet high and maybe about as equal wide. It's like almost a half circle, roughly speaking.
Well, I'm going to frolic on in there and get a look around.
All right. And as you approach the tunnel, the smell of rich earth and growing things and rich, meaty life just kind of seems to be wafting out from the entrance as you're going through. Kind of the passageway curves a little bit, but it only goes maybe about 20 or 30 yards before it opens up into another chamber, not as large as the first one that you were in, but still a fairly high ceilinged cave, and kind of again like a pale glow in here, but it appears to be dominated sort of at this kind of like a low gradual rise from the floor level where you enter towards kind of the center, where growing up out of the ground is this large tree, with kind of kind of large, low hanging. It looks kind of vaguely like willow-like in terms of its structure, in terms of the branches kind of hanging down and long, like tendril-like kind of leaves dangling down. And they seem to have almost this green living energy kind of occasionally that seems to be kind of coming off of it, that the light seems to almost be almost as much like from aspects of the tree itself as opposed to the crystals that are above. And then the ground itself, there are some kind of narrow paths that snake their way through, but the rest of the ground, and it's like sort of dirt, and there's like plants and lots of like vines and creepers, and you see a lot of the melons and so forth like you ate are kind of in various places along, but it looks like it's just this wild, explosive, tangled growth of just plant life. And you do see occasionally like little, some of the beetles as well, kind of making their way through and rooting through the plant life and things like that. But it's an impressive sight.
Is there enough structure to the tree branches that I could like hang out on one?
Some of the ones that are maybe a little bit closer to the central trunk, sure.
I just want to go find a place to perch and kind of breathe this in. This is nice. This is a nice little garden. I want to hang out here for a minute.
I want to check out these beetles now that if one of them was wandering around. I want to see what kind of plants are growing on it. If there's something like a way that I can tell, like, is it like crops or like what is on these beetles?
Go ahead and give me a charisma test. Let's see if you can sort of like attract one closer to you like you would like a animal or something to see if you can get a good look.
That is a 13.
All right. It's almost like getting a dog to come towards you. You kind of like crouch down and hold out a little something and this beetle comes up. And again, the beetle's like probably the size of like a Newfoundland or something like it's like the size of a big dog. Just in terms of its scope. And it gets close and you like have held something out to like a little bit of food or whatever to entice it closer to you. Mm-hmm. And it comes up and it starts kind of nibbling away with its little mouth parts. It does have like, you've kind of noticed this about all of them, but they all have, in addition to like their little chewy mouth parts, but have like kind of larger pincers that flank the mouth, like that they could grab a hold of something or whatever pretty well. Mm-hmm. But it looks like on top of the thing's head is more of like the similar kind of thinner branches and leaves of this large central tree that look like are kind of growing on and maybe even a little bit like under the shell carapace of the beetle and like growing into its head somehow. It's a little weird, but that looks to be what's going on.
Okay, interesting.
Seeing these up closer, would my knowledge of botany give me anything extra about what this might be?
Go ahead and roll.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
10. Not
okay,
as great.
One of those, not as great as a reroll might indicate.
Uh-huh.
You don't recognize it as any kind of, again, it like kind of superficially resembles like a cross between like a willow and some kind of creeping vine. Maybe it seems like it might have a little bit of like fungus quality to it in some respects, but it doesn't resemble any kind of plant that you're actually familiar with. Like aside from sharing some qualities with some stuff, you don't recognize what this thing is at all.
This is just utterly alien to me. Gosh, I'm going to kill myself just observing things, but I think I want to look at this tree astrally as well if I could and see if it gives me any different kind of reading in this room.
Okay. Astral sight test.
Oh, thank God. Oh my God.
Sheesh.
What's a 33 get me?
Oh my gosh.
The first thing that you notice is that the tree itself is just absolutely shining in astral space. Like it has a very, very strong magical presence, like well above what you would expect from a normal, like if you went and looked at a tree normally, it would be alive. It would have an astral presence, but this is like, there is some kind of more powerful magic involved here. And you also notice that much like in the other cave when you were looking at in astral space before, there's still quite a bit of astral taint and pollution present.
Okay.
And the magic of the tree seems to sort of like flow out and through and in kind of among the ground and through the other plants and everything that you see on the ground here.
What do you see?
The pollution is still around, just like through the other way, but this tree, this is more than just a tree. It's very strong. It's very bright.
I slowly climb out of the tree and move away from it.
Yeah, and I was seeing something like the branches of the tree going like into the brains of the beetles.
I move even faster away from the tree.
Yes, it seems like that life, that energy, that magic is seeping into all of the living things, all of the plant life. It's a big connection.
That makes sense. Perhaps Jasperi granted them the tree, and if it's the the vines from the tree that make it so they can tame the beetles. That would be the link.
Yep. That tracks.
Jara, what is your mystic defense?
I'm terrified to answer you. It's 10.
It's 10. Okay. So both Kanath and Jara, having seen this thing, witnessing the majesty of whatever this passions granted gift to this care is, you're not so sure it's a great idea to take these people away from it.
You know, there are stories of Jasperi setting up temples where he grows great things. This very well could be a temple. Maybe that's why they're so blessed. If we were to let these people leave to remove them, it could anger the god. This might be one of his most holy temples because of all the blessings he heaps upon them.
I was just thinking the same thing, Kanath. You know, they have so many gifts down here. I don't know why they would ever leave.
Well, all right. Now look, we're not going to force anyone to leave, but, you know, we've cracked it. We've found this place. If anyone feels that they don't want to change their lives by leaving the place that they've grown up and tended to, no one's going to force them to do so, but those that want to leave, I think, still get their own option.
Oh, yes, we should clear out the tunnel and, put torches and things and make it so people can come visit this temple of Jasperi.
Are you two taking money from Jasperi on the side or something? What is happening here?
I mean, it just makes sense. Good common sense.
Is any of this enough? And I don't know if I'm asking our game master here or asking the players. Is any of this enough out of character at this point from what we would know being close to trigger a seriously, hold on. Do you know what I mean?
I will leave that if you want to sort of discuss that between yourselves, whether that would be enough.
To me, Kanath celebrates the merits of all kinds of things and all sorts of knowledge. So the focus is what's weird to me. That Kanath is suddenly all in on one thing seems weird. He's a troubadour. He celebrates everything. He's knowledgeable about everything. So for me, I think this is suspicious, and I feel like me talking about it is enough for Siobhan to maybe also be suspicious.
Yeah, that would be the thing that's strange, is that Kanath very much celebrates the whole pantheon and really wholeheartedly believes everyone should go out and explore and be exposed to all the different areas and cultures and stuff. And so the idea of oh yeah, they should all stay here is a weird one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So figure it out, Tass. Solve the mystery, Tass.
How am I supposed to? I'll shoot them with lightning. I'm suspicious.
So you've spent a few minutes kind of poking around and looking at the tree and looking at the beetles and whatnot. And so you've been in here maybe about 10 minutes when there is a call from the entrance, and Essayan is there. You have come and witnessed the splendor of Jasperi's gift to us. The feast is nearly ready. If you will follow me, we will go and we will share tales, and you can tell us all about the surface world.
Yes, we'd love to.
Very well then. Come this way.
Tales from the Omniverse is a Critshow Studios production. This episode edited and produced by Brandon Wentz with music by Jake Purley.